You can access the entire episode now on our website, forbiddenknowledge.news, Rumble, and all podcast platforms. So you said that these beings were able to somehow place the entire planet under this advanced technological matrix system.
Correct.
If we look back through a lot of these ancient texts, it would seem like humanity has been reset multiple times. Much of the reasonings that are mentioned in some of these texts are that the gods were not happy with humanity or the way that humanity was going, so they decided to do a reset multiple times.
Absolutely. But you have to ask yourself, what kind of God? I mean, give me a definition of a God, right? Because a lot of people like the word God and they use it thinking that the definition is very benevolent. It's this kind of all-loving, benevolent being, right? But is that right? I mean, look at the God of the Old Testament. That's got nothing to do with benevolence. That is a psychopath. That is a jealous psychopath who loves sacrifices made of what? Animals and humans. Yeah. When you look into the cultures, South America, right? And we find out the Aztecs. Oh, they were doing, they were primitive because they were doing sacrifices with humans or with maidens, with women, right? Human sacrifices. They were primitive. You have to ask yourself why. Was it their idea, or was it the expectation of the gods? Who are the gods? What kind of race, right? Otherwise known by the reptilians, by the Draco, right? By the Anunnaki is just it's a term that comes from specifically that geography and the language used there, which just means as simple as Anunnaki, the ones who came from above down onto the earth. So it is not the name of a race, it is the name of basically what happened, right? So if we call them Archons, if we call them Anunnaki, if we call them the reptilians, Draco, however we want to call them, and mind you, Archons, right? The word Archon in Greek translates into the Lord. The Lord, ruler. And how is the Bible written? Right? The Lord said this, the Lord said that, right? So who are we referring to? Who are we really referring to? We're referring exactly to them. And they're not our friends. Of course there were resets, because at some point people would catch on, right? People would get to a point where there was a danger. There was a danger to those in power. Specifically in the ancient texts, and you can trace it back into the Rig Veda, which is the oldest one, so sort of around 12,000 years ago, around sort of 10,000 BC. You can see that in Enuma Elish as well. So the creation myths are very often the same in the Norse mythology, are talking about a certain time when this firmament, the dome, has been put in place, the moon shows up. If you look into the Enuma Elish, of course, there is this conflict between Tiamat and Marduk. And in the outcome of that conflict, he fashions a new version of the sky. He fashions a new version of sort of reality. What does that mean? What does that mean? What does it mean in the Hermetic text, when the Hermetic text so openly and beautifully describe that Atum, which is their name for the god, for the creator, Atum created the planets, created the moon, and they were corresponding to certain attributes of the gods. What does that mean? It means that this construct, again, very advanced technology, is operating based on frequency. This is frequency controlled construct, whereby the very energetic nature of the planets, of the stars out there, has been tampered with. There's been like a lens put up above us, otherwise called as a firmament, right? Otherwise known as a firmament. Something has been put above us to literally put us in a quarantine here on Earth. It's in a way, it kind of disconnected us from that cosmic context. It keeps us, right? And the moon, very, very important moment when the moon shows up, because moon shows up with a mission, right? The moon is not a natural satellite. The moon shows up in the sky. So the moon is placed into the sky around 10,000 BC with a job. And that is frequency control of this realm. So these planets plus the moon, they end up sort of working as a system based on frequency control. And you see, this is the reason why I mentioned I used to study astrology and numerology, but not as some kind of entertainment side hustle, but specifically because this is part of this construct. This is very much part of the construct. You've mentioned in the introduction that we have this free will and we can just, live out our life according to our mission. Do we have a free will? Because somehow looking into astrology and numerology, too much in our life is predictable. As in predictive astrology and numerology from whatever geography, the Chinese, the Greek, whatever you use, they have been spot on for sort of, take a random person and just run their code. Why is it like that? Well, I just it just slipped my mouth literally now, because there is a code. When we incarnate here, and Hermetic texts talk about it, that this firmament creates a barrier so that a human, the person who lives here, will be incarnating, will be tossed between heaven and earth indefinitely. What does that mean? It means there is a mechanism in place which after death sort of captures the soul, and it's like a recycling factory, it sends it back down. So you cannot escape this realm. You cannot leave and go wherever you want to go. You are in an artificial way controlled after death and after birth as well, so that this plane becomes it's like a recycling factory of souls. Why? Because nothing about this realm, nothing about this prison that they created, these races created, is obviously for our benefit. This is an energy harvesting machine. So literally, what is the fall of consciousness? The fall of consciousness is the fact that after so many incarnations, right, so many times that the human was tossed up and down, guess what? They, as you mentioned before, they go through that process of wiping out their memory, and they come back here and they get traumatized. Their soul gets shattered into even more pieces. They get traumatized. Their life is pretty much their fate, as they say, is predetermined. Okay. And the life, look at most of us, right? Okay, we can say that we thrive, this and that, but majority of the world, people are struggling. Does anybody want to be struggling? No, people want to live a happy, peaceful life. But that's not the case. Why? Well, because we have a gang of psychopaths above us. Those people from those beings from those races, no, not here. They're not interested in being here. They used to be in the past. This is why we have so many accounts of extraterrestrial presence in the past. But in the current times, we have more of the middlemen put in place, right? So the people on top, the people whose names we never hear on TV, right? They are the ones who are the brokers, right? Who would have been the brokers for the last sort of several thousands of years. So this is the picture that we are dealing with.
The way you were describing the planets and the stars and the moon sounded like a circuit board